Hey everybody, it's good to be with you tonight on this. I'm shooting this on Tuesday morning, on this cold Tuesday morning. Went to the weight room this morning to work out, and I haven't put the doors on my Jeep yet, and it's also got the back plastic pieces out, so it was breezy this morning. But I digress. I want to talk to you for a moment about a subject matter that's not very popular, but suffering and persecution. And the reason I bring it up is I just want to have a pinpointed discussion around the tables tonight about what it looks like to be a disciple in the last days. And in all of the descriptions of that, what it looks like to be a disciple in the last days, it is apparent that we need to be prepped for, ready for persecution and suffering. You have words like they that endure to the end will be saved. There's language about discipline and endurance as being the hallmarks of a disciple and follower of Jesus, to the point that Jesus is very aggressive about warning his disciples of things to come. And that's primarily why he's telling them or forecasting the end time last days descriptions, is to prepare the disciples so that they don't get disheartened. One thing that I know is true, that when we have an expectation of something working out a certain way and it doesn't meet our expectation, then we get bewildered in our hearts. We get distraught in our hearts. We wonder. We start having questions about, is God really who He says He is? If He is, why has He let this happen? Has God forgot about me? Does God not know where I'm at? And we start having all of these conversations about, is any of this, is this stuff really true? And Jesus is trying to stop that from happening by warning the disciples about what is to come. Now, I want to say that there's a teaching in our culture. It seems to be waning a bit. I hope that it is, but it's the idea of, and you've heard me talk about it before, the prosperity gospel. And I think there are levels of that. I think there are some people who are 100% given into that, and then there are some of us that would say, well, no, we would never believe that is true, but yet our working kind of on the ground faith that's coming out of our hearts is actually testifying that it's true. And so let me explain some terms. First of all, when I say prosperity gospel, what I mean is when your faith goes up, your comforts go up. So it would be something like, if you have enough faith, God will heal your marriage to the point that you won't have marriage problems. So if your faith will just grow, at some point, you won't have marriage issues. If your faith is high enough, you'll never be sick. Okay? I got a runny nose. No, you don't. You need to speak in faith that you don't have a runny nose. But I have snot running down my face. Yeah, don't confess it. Don't confess it. I don't have to confess it. I see it, right? No, it's this idea that if you have enough faith, then you won't be sick. Or another thing would be, if you have enough faith, you're never going to have financial struggles. You have enough faith. Your kids are never going to get into something that they can't get out of, or that you can't guide them out of. Things like this. Faith high, comforts high. Faith low, comforts low. And so that's what I mean by prosperity gospel. Now here's the thing. Here's the problem with that. The problem with that is the Bible. And so the problem with that is that we see people with high levels of faith in the Scriptures who also, some do mighty exploits for the Lord, but then some also experience incredible persecution. And so let me read really quickly from the Message. I don't do this all the time, and mostly I just read the Message just for my own kind of getting an idea of what the text says. But I want to read it to you, Hebrews chapter number 11, this is verses 32 through 38, but it's in the Message, and I want you to just hear this. It's talking about the men and women who have had great faith, and he gets towards the end, he says, I could go on, but I've run out of time. That's what he says. There are so many more: Gideon, Barak, Samson, Jephthah, David, Samuel, the prophets. through acts of faith, they toppled kingdoms, made justice work, took the promises for themselves. They were protected from lions, fires, sword thrusts, turned disadvantages to advantages, won battles, routed alien armies. Women received loved ones back from the dead. There were those who, under torture, refused to give in and go free, preferring something better, resurrection. It means they were being tortured but refused to let go of their faith. And he says, others braved abuse, whips, and yes, chains and dungeons. So let me stop. Have you noticed the change in example from foreign armies to flight to getting the dead back, moms getting their dead children back from the dead, and then like on a dime, the Hebrew writer just changes and says that they were tortured, refused to give in to go free, preferring something better, resurrection. They were tortured to the point of death, and they would not cast their faith in. He goes on, others braved abuse and whips, and yes, chains and dungeons. We have stories of those who were stoned, sawed in two, murdered in cold blood, stories of vagrants wandering the earth in camel skins, homeless, friendless, powerless. The world didn't deserve them, making their way as the best they could on the cruel edges of the world. Now, Pastor, why do you bring that up? Because they're just, all of these people at the back half of Hebrews 11 are in the same kind of exaltation as the rest of the great men and women of faith that are represented above them. And so for our faith to be high, and it means that we have comforts and prosperity, that's anti-gospel. Because these guys at the end, you get sawed in half for your faith, that's anything but comfort. I don't know. I've never been sawed in half. I'm telling you, it's probably not comfortable. And so this is important for us, church. This is very, very important to us. Let me give you one other illustration, and I'm going to let you go and talk, okay? You guys have probably seen this picture go around on Facebook. I saw it the other day. And it's a two-tiered picture. On the top half is a cruise ship, and on the bottom half is a battleship. And they say the Christian faith was never supposed to look like this, and it's the cruise ship. Instead, it's supposed to look more like this, and it's a battleship. And so just to illustrate the point, and I love that, and I think it's fabulous, and just to illustrate the point, our Christianity should look more like the battleship than it does the cruise ship. On the battleship, everybody has a job. Everybody has a responsibility on that ship. Nobody's on that ship that doesn't have a duty or a call. Some of them are at from the captain who is at the helm all the way down to the people who are serving food just everybody has a role and they all matter. And that ship is designed for one thing, and that's battle. It's full of missiles, armor. It's structured in such a way to fulfill the task. Cruise ship, way different situation. Cruise ship is full of a bunch of people with no responsibilities. They are there for entertainment. They're there to eat food anytime they want to, lounge out on the boat deck, get some sun, go on a few excursions, enjoy the entertainment that is on the ship. They are there to relax and have a good time. What a tragedy when we think that our walk with Jesus and our faith should resemble more the cruise ship than the battleship. I love you. Pastor, I love you. Your life is not guaranteed to be comfortable, nor mine. And it does not mean that God does not love us. It does not mean that God is not for us. It just means we've bought into a lie that this world has given us, that, hey, if we have enough faith, man, you can have all the comforts that you want. It's just simply not true. I leave you with Galatians 5, where Paul says, we wrestle not against flesh and blood. You guys know or excuse me, I think it's Galatians 6. I could be wrong. But put on the whole armor of God, that you might be able to stand against the wiles or the tactics of the devil. Man, he's talking about armor that you put on a soldier. And that more prepares us for what we're going to experience in the last days than any prosperity gospel or gospel of comfort. So anyway, I'm gonna stop. You guys have a great discussion. They've got some questions for you, and just do a spiritual audit on where you're at as far as what you expect to be true about what the Lord does. So I love you. God bless you, and I'll see you on Sunday.